Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Respected viewers, Assalamu alaikum. In this episode today, we shall be talking about Jinnah's childhood. Jinnah's story began with his father, Jinnah Bhai, Punja Bhai of Paneli, a small village in Kathiawar, taking a decision which resulted in Jinnah Bhai, along with his wife, migrating from Gondal state to Karachi, a move believed to be divinely ordained. Jinnah Bhai rented a modest two-room apartment in a building on Newham Road in Kharadar. Mithi Bai gave birth to the first child of the family, a boy. The day was a Sunday, the date 25th December in the year 1876. Both husband and wife were agreed that Muhammad Ali would be an auspicious name for their firstborn, and this was the name they gave him. Mithi Bai was intensely fond of Muhammad Ali, and although 6 other children were born to her, she continued to the end of her life to look upon Muhammad Ali as her favorite child. Rahmat, Maryam, Fatma, Shireen, Ahmad Ali and Bande Ali were to be her other children. In all, 4 daughters and 3 sons. Muhammad Ali, my viewers, was about 6 years old when his parents engaged a teacher to teach him Gujarati, which was his mother tongue and a native language for the people of Kathiawar. Muhammad Ali was not particularly fond of sitting through his lessons at home. He was more at home playing with the boys of his age of the neighborhood, among whom he established a reputation of being proficient at games. They, in their childish minds, looked upon him as their leader, and he intuitively felt he was their superior. However, when he was about 9, he was put in a primary school. It was decided to get him admitted in the Sindh Madrasatul Islam, a high school about a mile from their home on Newham Road, founded by Khan Bahadur Hassan Ali Afandi, the pioneer educationist amongst Sindh Muslims. The change of school, however, did not change his attitude to his lessons, and he continued to achieve victory at the playground rather than at school. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, after passing 4th standard Gujarati, studied in Sindh Madrasa from the 4th of July 1887 to the 30th of January 1892, a period of about 4.5 years, including a brief period that he studied at Anjuman-e-Islam School in Bombay. He joined Standard 1 in 1887, and when he left in 1892, he was a student of Standard 5. This indicates he passed all his examinations every year in spite of his indifferent attendance at school. After the age of 10, my dear viewers, Muhammad Ali developed a great liking for horses. His father owned a number of carriages, and in the stables of Jinnah Bhai were a number of fine horses. Muhammad Ali took a fancy to the sport and was quick to learn horse riding, an activity enjoyed by him very immensely. He had a school friend, Kareem Qasim, son of a merchant of Kharadar. The 2 boys would go horse riding for long distances every day and every afternoon. Why Jinnah loved his horses has been a question asked by a lot of people. Because, as he believed, they gracefully held their heads high, symbolizing strength and confidence. He saw in all nature life mold itself on vertical dimensions. For example, horses stand erect, and so do the trees. Also, flowers on the bough rise up. Man walks upright, as most birds and beasts. Minarets and domes aspire to silhouette against the skies. Such observations were the basic philosophy which led young Jinnah to believe that horses were stately. He made it a principle of life not only to look ahead, but also to keep his chin up. He would not allow difficulties to bend him. He would rather accept the challenge and overcome them. He spent his days at school and his evenings he devoted to horse riding. Muhammad Ali was already 16 and he was only in the 5th standard, caring little for his studies and more for his hobbies and his games and the sport of horse riding. It was enough to make his father anxious, but the mother's love-ridden confidence in her son's future stood completely unshaken. The business of Jinnah Bhai was flourishing and he was ranked amongst the leading businessmen of Karachi, giving him all the more a cause to worry about his eldest son, who must in the course of time join him to share his business responsibilities. Jinnah Bhai, dear viewers, sometimes discuss the future of Muhammad Ali with Croft, a British trader that Jinnah Bhai used to meet very often, who advised him to send the young boy to London. After some discussion, the father was persuaded to agree in the hope that it may open a new chapter in the life of his son and of the family. Jinnah's first marriage. Let's look at what happened. Mithi Bai wanted her son married before going abroad. That was a custom in those days, that boys and girls got married rather young. The mother knew of an Ismaili Khoja family of Paneli who were distantly related to her, and they had a girl of marriageable age. Jinnah acted as an obedient son, accepting the decision of his parents, and thus came to be engaged to Amy Bai of Paneli. Distance, my dear viewers, lends enchantment, and the village folk of Paneli believed Jinnah Bhai had become a multimillionaire in a big city like Karachi, sending his goods to distant lands by big ships that crossed the oceans without sails. And then he had a big house, carriage and horses. Oh yes, they gossiped, Jinnah Bhai had made a big fortune. The Punja family was proud of him, and quite rightly so. The marriage party, on the day before the marriage was to take place, having arrived at Paneli on a boat via the sea route, Jinnah, the groom, led by his father, walked to the bride's house, where sat the 14-year-old Amy Bai, dressed in expensive new clothes, heavily bejeweled, her hands spotted with henna, her face and clothes heavily sprinkled with costly fragrance. The nikah ceremony was performed in the presence of bride's relatives, all of whom were jubilant over the happiness that awaited the young bride in her new home in the much talked of city of Karachi. As the date of Jinnah's departure for Europe approached, he was busy preparing for a long journey that would take him to an unknown land, and was not able to devote much attention to his child bride, but was fully laden with the loving memories of his mother Mithibai, who doted over her eldest child and was already feeling the pain of Muhammad Ali's anticipated absence from her life. Dear viewers, let us look at Jinnah's education abroad. Muhammad Ali Jinnah was embarking on the uncharted ocean of a new life in a country that was completely unknown to him. The presence of this boy of 16, unaccompanied and unchaperoned, in those far-off days when a voyage to England was an event out of the ordinary in the life of an Indian, must have aroused the curiosity of many of his friends. Muhammad Ali found life in London rather depressing, not being used to such severe weather. Years later he said, "I found a strange country and unfamiliar surroundings. I did not know a soul, and the fogs and winter in London upset me a great deal, but I soon settled down and was quite happy." He found a family that was prepared to take in a paying guest, and he was soon living on 35 Russell Road, Kensington. The London County Council later put up a plaque in the building on 35 Russell Road which reads, Quaid Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, 1876 to 1948, founder of Pakistan, stayed here in 1895. He adopted the typically English habit of reading carefully his morning newspaper as he awoke, and to complete reading it before finishing his breakfast. He read with undisguised admiration about the triumphs of great leaders dominating the political scene of England and their speeches in and outside the Parliament. He discovered that many political leaders had studied for the bar, and that a sound knowledge of law had stood them in good stead in their public lives. The question arises, what had been the purpose that had taken him to that country? It is said that when Muhammad Ali as a young boy saw an advocate for the first time, robed in a black gown and bands, he said, "I want to be a barrister." This ambition, nursed in childhood, asserted itself in him while he was in London. He thus joined Lincoln's Inn in 1893, preparing himself for a legal career. And why did he choose Lincoln's Inn? He said, "I joined Lincoln's Inn because there, on the main entrance, the name of the Prophet was included in the list of the great lawgivers of the world." Not long after the Quaid had left Karachi for England, his wife Amy Bai died. When he received the news, while still studying at Lincoln's Inn, about the death of his mother, who died in childbirth, the shock for him was unbearable, for he loved her more than anything else in the world. Dear viewers, there is a very famous military adage which says, when troubles come, they come in battalions. And that was proving true for our young Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Letters from home told him that the prosperous family business, so painstakingly built up by his father, was on the verge of collapse. Jinnah faced these disasters and losses with the courage of a stoic, determined to succeed, to add luster to his family name. His interests were being widened. He obtained a reader's ticket for the library of the British Museum and devoted his time to enrich his mind with intensive and comprehensive reading. He would sometimes go on a Sunday morning to the Hyde Park corner to listen to the soapbox orators that have made this particular corner into a world-famous institution. He was a constant visitor to the House of Commons, where he listened with unabated admiration to the speeches of such liberal statesmen as Gladstone, Lord Morley, Joseph Chamberlain, Balfour, T.P. O'Connor, and so many others. The art of parliamentary eloquence was to be his strongest weapon in later years. By sheer dint of hard work, he passed his examinations at Lincoln's Inn in 2 years. And at the age of 18, he came to be the youngest Indian student ever to be called to the bar. Besides his studies, Jinnah plunged into the whirlpool of activities centering around Indian students in London, among whom there was great excitement in the very first year of his arrival, as Dadabhai Naoroji, a veteran Parsi leader from Bombay, settled in London for the last many years as a businessman, was seeking election to the House of Commons. Quaid Azam threw himself heart and soul into this election campaign and thereby caught the eye and won the esteem of Dadabhai Naoroji, called the Grand Old Man of India. Naoroji was elected to the parliament. Quaid Azam developed great respect and admiration for him, who was to exert a great influence on his political personality in the years to come. He remained a devout friend of the Grand Old Man, though much younger than him in years, and the two together were to render yeoman service to the All India Congress in the early years of its existence. Jinnah's challenge-ridden stay in England amply demonstrated that he was no ordinary Indian student. Nature had gifted him with rich talent, and he did not want to lose himself in the narrow lanes of a mere sordid world. On return to Karachi, not only was Jinnah emotionally crushed by the absence of his mother, but his father's business had fallen apart. Jinnah Bhai wanted his son to practice law in Karachi. The young barrister, however, had set his heart on moving to Bombay, which obviously had much greater chances of success. So that was the destination that he set sail for. Recounting these days of Quaid Azam's early life, Sarojini Naidu writes, and poetess that she was, obviously her poetic skills also reflected in her prose.
This favorite of fortune, suddenly faced with unexpected poverty, set out to conquer the world, equipped with nothing but the charmed missiles of his youth, his courage, and ambition.
Young Jinnah made no worthwhile progress for 3 years. He was without a brief for as long as that. A friend of his who held his talent and ability in high esteem introduced him to Macpherson, who was at that time the acting Advocate General of Bombay. The latter was impressed with the young barrister and invited Jinnah to work under him, extending to him the privilege of utilizing his well-stocked library and of reading in his chambers. Quaid Azam never forgot this magnanimous gesture on the part of Macpherson, particularly as in those days it was very rare for an Englishman to extend such courtesies to Indian barristers. Having witnessed the talent, charm and dignity of the young barrister, Macpherson was only too willing to strongly recommend him to Sir Charles Ollivant, the member in charge of the Judicial Department, and within a couple of weeks, M.A. Jinnah was appointed a temporary presidency magistrate. When Sir Charles Ollivant offered him another and better judicial appointment on rupees 1,500 a month, a princely salary in those days, "No, thank you, sir," he replied. "I will soon be able to earn that much in a single day." That was vintage Jinnah, and that was some confidence. My dear viewers, looking at Jinnah's professional image, as soon as Jinnah resigned his post as acting presidency magistrate, he was approached by a number of people who entrusted their cases to him. He now opened his chambers in a building where leading lawyers had their offices. His feet were now set firmly on the ladder of success, and he sent letters and telegrams to his father to come over to Bombay with the family. Sir Chamanlal Stalwad wrote in his recollections and reflections, Jinnah had always, even in his junior days, shown considerable independence and courage. He never allowed himself to be overborne either by the judge or the opposing counsel. A few words about his persuasive advocacy, his method of penetrating cross-examination, his gift of persuasive pleading, aided by irrefutable arguments and supported by law and cases, cast a spell in the courtroom on the judges, the juries, the solicitors, and clients, all alike. As a counsel, he has ever had his head erect, unruffled by the worst circumstances. He has been our boldest advocate. No judge dare bully him. He will not brook insult. Jinnah's ready tongue and brilliant advocacy have warded off all judicial storms and won him all-round admiration. His strongest points as a speaker were his persuasive manner, lucid presentation, penetrating analysis, and uncanny foresight. He won recognition and encomium from those that heard him in political meetings. Now let us again look at the Nightingale of India, Sarojini Naidu, the great poetess both in the local and the Persian language. Her appraisal of Jinnah, she had these glorious words for him, which are so romantic and so lyrical that one almost swoons with them. She said, Jinnah, by the dint of his phenomenal success as a barrister, had become well known and highly sought after social contact in Bombay. Sarojini Naidu, the poetess, wrote of him,
tall and stately, but thin to the point of emaciation, languid and luxurious of habit. Muhammad Ali Jinnah's attenuated form is the deceptive sheath of a spirit of exceptional vitality and endurance, somewhat formal and fastidious, and a little aloof and imperious of manner, the calm hauteur of his accustomed reserve, but masks for those who know him. a naive and eager humanity, an intuition quick and tender as a woman's, a humor gay and winning as a child's, preeminently rational and practical, discreet and dispassionate in his esteem and acceptance of life, the obvious sanity and serenity of his worldly wisdom effectually disguise a shy and splendid idealism, which is of the very essence of the man.
My dear and respected viewers, I'm sure you would have been reasonably educated today about Jinnah's youth, his education abroad, and his practice in Bombay, and how people viewed him as a lawyer. We shall talk more of his achievements in many episodes that are yet to follow. So please keep aligned to us and looking out for our next episodes, which inshallah will be given out very regularly on a weekly basis. Thank you very much for your attention.